Good evening. Brett Wallen again with Great Basin Engineering, and just want to make sure that we properly introduce this project. We're excited to be here. I have representatives from the Kroger Company and Smith's Food Drug, if you'd like to speak to them at some point during the hearing. This colored site plan that you have in front of you is in preparation for this meeting, and one of the things that I want to do is quickly review your criteria and kind of discuss the criteria, and if you have questions of me as we go through those, I'll be glad to answer any of the issues that you may have. We concur with your staff report. It's one of the first things I want to let you know, that your staff has been great to work with, and we've been working on this project for some time, and we've worked through a lot of issues, and we're excited about the project and the product that we have before you this evening. The criteria that is in front of us, the first one, number one, diversify the economy. We are very excited about the opportunity to revitalize this site, working in conjunction with the county and the school district, and having those buildings removed and prepared for this future development. This is going to be a real positive for the community of Los Alamos. It will increase economic diversity in this area. We've been excited about the opportunity to tie this shopping center in with the Merrimack Shopping Center. One of the items that we have in our site plan, and I'm not sure if I can do this or not, but is we plan for a traffic signal to tie in at this location with the Merrimack Shopping Center. There are two existing driveways in the Merrimack Shopping Center, one roughly at this location and one just slightly west of this driveway. We've been working with the shopping center owners in relocating that driveway to this main driveway and eliminating the other two driveways. We think that that is one of the large benefits to the downtown economy, and the traffic signal will provide pedestrian opportunities to cross back and forth between the shopping centers. The Kroger Company owns the majority of the Merrimack Shopping Center, and it was very vital to them to create that vibrance and ongoing opportunities in the downtown area. Number 9, protect the environment. The Kroger Company has large initiatives, and in your staff, we have submitted to staff documentation of their environmental programs, environmental lighting, sustainable building practices, and the Kroger Company is committed to those practices. They have in other areas looked into the possibility of solar power. This project's not currently planned for those. Those initiatives are still in the review process, and there may be opportunities down the road to provide some options along those lines. Number 12, improve the mobility. One of the things that this site plan has taken into account is access. We have access out onto Trinity that will carry pedestrian opportunities along the storefront. We have sidewalks that will be expanding along Trinity Drive and through the shopping center, through the middle of the shopping center, the southern portion. And then we have the trailway system where it's going to be constructed that will tie into the existing county system along the canyon rim. We believe that the pedestrian connections and mobility has met the criteria established in number 12. Number 13 is revitalizing the downtown. If you can go ahead and move to the architectural elevations, I think that may be a good point to show these at this point in time. The elevations on this building are a little bit of a departure from what Smith's is used to. There are extreme amount of articulation that meets the code here, utilizing different building materials. The architects involved with this project have reviewed some of the architecture in the area and have tried to create a building that is unique to Los Alamos. One of the things that you're going to find on this set of plans is an outdoor seating plaza that is substantial. I believe it's 5,400 square feet, located on the south side of the building that overlooks the canyon. As the architects looked at that and trying to bring a gathering place into the downtown area, we think that this is going to be a substantial community benefit through opportunities to gather and create an outdoor place that ties into the trailhead, and as well, one of the things I haven't talked to at this point in time is we've also included trailhead parking and accommodations for the trailhead to tie into the parking lot. We can look at that when we go back to the site plan. But the articulation on this building, the south wall, you can see here the different types of building materials that are breaking up the building, and we have a trellis system, steel trellis system that overhangs the outdoor plaza that ties into the architectural features. And this building is going to be one of the keystone buildings in the Smiths part of the Kroger chain, and that it will be one of the keystone stores. And we are very excited and believe that this meets the criteria to revitalize the downtown. Next one there is criterion B, ingress and egress. We go back to the site plan, Dan. That would be great. If I could just walk you through a bit of the circulation on this project. We have two accesses that tie into Connect Street, one at this location and one at this location. And then we have a right-in, right-out driveway at this location, a signalized driveway here. Then on the very east end, we have a right-in, right-out with a left turn movement in. This is mainly our service entrance, and where the trucks will be able to access the loading docks that are located here in the rear of the store. The drive-through pharmacy is located here with a one-way lane that's on the north side of that pharmacy drive-through. So there will be no access heading eastward at this location. It'll only be one way going out. Our trucks are anticipated to come in on the truck route, head east on Trinity Drive, make a right turn in, and utilize the facilities, and then head back out. At this point in time, there's plans for the roundabout to be built at 4th Street and Central, and so those trucks will come down, return around on the roundabout, and come back up. Until that's constructed, they will go around the block on Central as we currently do in our existing facilities across the street. We are excited about the access opportunities. We're working currently with the Highway Department on getting our accesses approved. We have a meeting with them in the morning. We're working through those issues. Our traffic study has been turned in to both the county and the Highway Department, and it shows that the traffic signal is warranted at this location. One of the reasons, and I did have some comments that came up regarding the possibility of that being a roundabout instead of a traffic signal. The constraints that we have at this location for the possibility of a roundabout is the roundabouts require additional right-of-way, and the diameter of a roundabout gets quite substantial. This property here is not owned by Smiths or Kroger. We have worked with those property owners on locating that traffic signal and eliminating the two driveways and consolidating them into one driveway. One of the criteria based on that would be that there be no net loss of parking for them to move forward. The right-of-way requirements for a roundabout would not allow us to meet the criteria that's established in having that intersection constructed at that location and consolidating those two driveways into one. And so I want to make sure that that was an item of topic. Again, we've talked about the pedestrians and the bicyclists along the trailway. The trailhead is located in this area with a pathway that extends down onto the trail system, and there are parking stalls designated with the trailway located along the southern portion of the parking lot. Getting to criteria C, stormwater. This site we are working on. Currently there is a detention pond, I should say retention pond because it has no outlet, that is constructed underneath the building. It was built here by the county this last summer. Our plans indicate that working in conjunction with the county, we will construct with county reimbursements this retention pond and fill up the retention pond here. We have a series of storm drain systems that will be piped down to this point and entered into this retention basin. It'll be a 100-year storm event that will be able to retain those storms. It also has a storm filter system that will take out any of the debris and before it enters the retention basin. All of those designs will need to be county standards and approved by the county engineer. Criteria D, necessary easements for utilities. We are working with the county engineering and providing those easements, and we need to, one of the criteria is that will be completed prior to the building permit being issued. And we'll also have easements that from the previous development here where those utilities were provided, and those easements need to be vacated. And so we're working in conjunction with staff, and those will all be completed prior to building. The landscape plan is shown here on the overall landscape plan. A few changes from our previous submittal. One of the items is that this area here along the south side of the building, we have a 20-foot fill in this area, which means that there's 20 feet of structural material that's going to be placed under that corner of the building. One of the challenges we've had in this high seismic zone was to be able to construct that type of fill material, transition from there down to this trailway, and do it in a fashion and a shape that is cost effective. So we've been working with structural engineers for the last month, working on that design. One of their criteria is that this area not be irrigated, so that we don't have erosion potential that could create an issue for the stability of the building. And so what you will see in that area is a xeriscape or a rock, probably 4 to 6 to 8 inch angular rock that will, on a 3-to-1 slope, that will be able to stabilize that area. We have a series of trees that we have planned for. What we really wanted to do was plan for the canyon vegetation, mostly the evergreen trees, to be able to come up into the site and bring that canyon fill into our development. Some of the concerns we had were trying to make sure that we didn't create any kind of fire hazard that would come up into the project. And so you'll see that our trees are close to the canyon where the building is, and not up around the building for those reasons. We're excited about the opportunity to landscape this project, make it unique to our shopping centers. We don't, to my knowledge, we don't have any shopping centers that are located on a canyon like this, and provide the elements where we have this outdoor plaza and the views to be able to overlook the canyons. And we believe that this is going to be a real gathering place and focal point for your community. We exceed the landscape criteria of the county, and believe that this is going to be a very enhanced landscape project. Criteria F, on-site improvements to the extent practical, outstanding topography, features, and natural amenities on the site. There is a significant amount of grading that is going to happen on this site. When you place a building of this size, and it's a flat building, and your site has grade from one side to the other, that means we have some challenges. The slopes that we have coming off will really come off the south side, so the parking lot will be relatively flat with 3-to-1 slopes running back down into the canyon. This area here is going to be vegetated with some natural grasses, and the same with the area where this retention basin is going to be located. That will be natural grasses as well that will complement the area coming up out of the canyon and create that natural fill of the landscape features. Criteria G, parking lot and outside storage areas, mechanical equipment and outdoor lighting. We are looking into all of the criteria for the outdoor lighting on this project. One of the challenges we have is trying to just provide enough security lighting for our customers at night, and our proposal is looking at providing some security lighting on the interior with meeting all of the code elements of the outdoor lighting on the periphery. And we're looking at meeting, specifically looking at other projects here in the community and making sure that that we meet those. We also have planned a side obscuring wall around the back of the service area, to be able to screen off any of the truck docks located on the east side of the building. All mechanical units will be screened from the rooftops and meeting the criteria that's established in G. Criteria H, I think we've had some discussion already about parking lots, structures, site grading, and architecture. Meeting those criteria, I won't go over that further in detail. I, the capacity of public services to serve the proposed development. We're working with your staff and public utilities to make sure that we have adequate services, and we've been assured that the off-site services provided by the county will meet our proposed project, and we are excited about being able to utilize those services to provide the services here for the shopping center. Provision criteria J, we would concur with staff, is not applicable. K is not applicable, and then L, adequate screening and buffering. We've talked a bit about the rooftop units and the screening on the back of the building. We also have some retaining walls that are located to transition some grade along this eastern boundary that will assist in with the landscaping features there to screen the back of our building from the adjacent use to the east. Criteria M, All structures will be constructed as permanent structures. This is going to be a long-term project. We're excited about the investment that the Kroger company is looking to make in the community. I think they indicated before this meeting that it was in the range of about $35 million. These are permanent features. A lot of planning and design and engineering has gone into those to make sure that they fit into the community. Just a couple of things that I'd like to identify as well from the site plan. These two buildings, retail shops buildings, will be built initially in phase 1. They have outdoor plazas and seating areas planned into them. This is probably a little better view. You can see there's some outdoor seating areas located on the east side and in between the two buildings. The Kroger company, Smith's parent company, is actually going to fund and own and operate these buildings, and they will construct those and lease those out, looking for tenants to be able to occupy those. And if you want to go back to the site plan, Dan, this pad is a future pad. It's currently shown for McDonald's. There are no leases signed at this point in time with any user on that pad. It could well be that it's some other type of user. It may not even be a fast food at this point in time, but that was our best concept as we prepared this. We currently don't have any leases signed for the proposed project on any of the buildings. We are working towards that. Some of the challenges associated with that are bringing national retailers into Los Alamos. We have brokers, and the Kroger staff is working together to finalize those. It's a bit of a challenge. They anticipate as this goes to construction that the interest will increase with time. And at this point in time, this future retail building and this future retail building are planned for, but will not be built in phase 1. And this future restaurant is planned for, but will not be built in phase 1. So all of the parking lot improvements, all of the landscaping will be built in those areas. Those future pads, the McDonald's will be rough graded, and these future retail buildings here, the parking lot will be built, but the extent of it beyond that, it will just be rough graded. This future restaurant will be rough graded out, and McDonald's will be rough graded out. Those would be the only two areas that would be rough graded. For the most part, we've talked about the buildings, we've talked about the site plan and landscaping. We concur with your staff report. For the most part, I'd like to answer questions and not belabor you with my rhetoric. I want to be able to answer any questions that you may have and get into more detail as you see fit.
Before we ask questions of the commissioner, we have two other entities, party, and there was one identified, Ms. Mockler. Do you have questions of the applicant? Will you please come up? You'll have to do this on the record.
Mockler. I was wondering if you would show us where all of the trees and shrubberies, landscaping plan. Thank you. Do you have that in?
Actually, yes, you are looking at it here. So it maybe it's a kind of a small scale there on the, and I can show you on a hard copy if it's a little bit easier, but these green balls, so to speak, are trees, as well as these purple ones, if you were to see this a little closer up. So any any of these that are green or purple, these are all trees located out on the canyon that are proposed. One of the things that, when we looked at this, we wanted to clear some of the deciduous trees that are along the canyon rim, and so that the views you can see out over the canyon off of this plaza. So we have some work to do in that area, as well as these are all trees along the back. Any of the bushes or ground covers on this scale of a drawing wouldn't really be visible. We also have, yes, those are trees. We also have planters located at the storefront along the front of the Smith store. There's also planters located around these retail buildings. If you were to get down to the smaller scale, you'd be able to see those.
Staff questions of the applicant?
I have none.
Move on to the staff report and discussion. Oh, you're right. I'm just trying to finish watching maybe 500 probably. That sort of thing. Commissioner questions of the applicant. We'll start with Deb and then Ralph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for all this work and for coming this evening. Could you explain to me again the drainage system? You said at the south end, underneath the building, it would capture the water? Is that what you said?
Well, no.
Okay.
Let me clarify that. The way that this land actually grades from this corner right here all the way to this corner right here. So if you kind of think of that in general terms, any water that's going to fall in this area will be caught by a series of catch basins located in the parking lot. There will be a storm drain system that will run along down this way, along the pathway to this point, and then it has a filtering system, so to speak, is the best terminology that meets layman's terms, and then it will enter into this retention basin. There is an existing retention basin under this building currently that was built by the county last summer due to some stormwater issues with the canyon that they were required by federal government to meet some time constraints, and so it was built under the building. That's going to be filled in and will no longer be used.
Okay. And then one more question regarding that. In one of the reports, I think the IERC, the water treatment of the drainage water actually means the filtration system. You're not actually removing anything that was in the parking lot or anything. Okay.
No, there were some concerns originally with the old development, with the buildings that were there previously, that there may have been some maintenance types of equipment, electrical transformers, whatever it could have been, that had some contaminants, and they were very small trace levels, that the state had required some restrictions on the county as far as depositing into the canyon, and that was the reason that pond was built. There's actually a berm constructed, as you would see it out there today. There's a berm all the way constructed all the way along and contains any flow from going off-site and just directs it into this existing retention basin that was built. With our project, we will have erosion control measures that will do the same thing during construction. We will have measures that won't allow any of the materials, any silt or anything to escape the site as it's being constructed that meets the federal requirements. And so those are typical EPA issues that we need to meet, and we meet those on a going basis before we get a building permit.
Super. One more question regarding the retaining pond, please. There's no security issue with that, is there? I mean, it doesn't rain here a lot, but as we've seen recently. But do you foresee any issues with that? People going out there and getting involved with the water or anything? Does that need a fence around it or not?
Our engineering firm, its typical practice would be to recommend that a chain link fence be installed around that facility. That's something that we haven't talked with the county engineer about at this point in time. But as we prepare final construction drawings, that would be a recommendation of ours. Whether the county chooses to do that or not, I guess that's their choice. It'll be on the county property and it'll be county responsibility. But it will be water that will be standing. There is no outlet for that pond, so to speak. It will be designed to retain water. So, could set in there for a period of time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I actually wear hearing aids, and I'm picking up some whispering and other things at the back of the room and everything like this, believe it or not, when we haven't adjusted. So we just need to talk to the neighbors or anything. Please go out to the hall and stuff and come back in. Ralph?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a couple of questions. Just a couple of quick ones and then a little bit longer one. Have you done the soil borings already around the building to make sure there's no hidden basalt and stuff that you don't know about?
We have done soil borings. We have found the material that exists here prominently in Los Alamos, and the tough material. And we have estimates of what it's going to cost to construct in those areas. We realize that's going to create some challenges for us during construction. Some of the other, working with the county, there are, our agreement with the county does provide that some of during the demolition of those buildings, there were buildings that were removed. Some of that material has been unconsolidated fill, and there are maybe some things out there that we have yet to discover. I mean, when you do soil borings, it's just kind of poking holes in the ground, and there could be some things that will be discovered during construction, but we have arrangements made with the county as to how that will be taken care of as they're encountered.
Okay, great. Nothing that looks like a barrier to build the building the way you can conceive it? No,
we've we did some trenching out there with our soils engineers because we had some of the concerns that you're alerting to, and we feel comfortable and have a working relationship with the county to be able to resolve those if they can.
Great, thank you. The second question, and you may have answered this previously, but if you haven't, I forgot that. Did you ever do a cost benefit or some other study on constructing the building to one of the LEED standards?
I have not been involved with that. I know that the standard that this building's being constructed to does meet some of the LEED standards. It doesn't meet the top standard. It meets the one level underneath it. I'm trying to remember, I think it's gold standard if I remember correctly.
Silver is one now. It doesn't mean silver?
I believe I don't have it right in front of me. I can't remember what we submitted, but it is if it's the silver or the gold, I can't remember which one it is.
Okay, but at least you had some considerations
yes.
for those standards when you
yes.
Okay, great. And then the last question, if you can't answer it all, I can hold that question later for the county. You went a long way in talking about the entries and access points for the cars and whatnot, but I'm suffering a little bit because there's not an integrated plan drawing that I can look at that really shows me what Trinity, is going to look like as far as ingress and egress goes. So, is there a way that you can kind of explain left turn, right turn?
Yes.
Where the egress points
we can start on this plan. We can start on this plan here, and it may not be the most clear, but I'll try to do so. There's going to be a median. You can kind of see this dark line right here is going to be a raised median, and with an opportunity for a left turn lane to turn in at this location. There will be no left turn movement out, so this driveway will be just a right in, right out driveway. Any questions on that driveway? Okay. This driveway here, there will be a left turn movement coming out of Merrimack Shopping Center, a right turn movement. and then an inbound lane. We are currently looking at providing one additional left turn movement out of this driveway. Right now it's shown with one left. We're looking at having dual lefts based on some of the comments that we have gotten from the highway department. So that's in the works. We'll probably even widen this driveway very slightly to be able to address their concerns. That's a work in progress, but to make sure that we're clear on what we're proposing at this point in time, this being a signalized intersection, you will allow left turn movements into the Merrimack Shopping Center, and then this will have left turn movements heading in. So there are full movements in all directions at this driveway. So if we can step up the road a little bit further. This driveway here is only a right-in, right-out driveway. There is an existing median, raised median that runs all the way along here. And then at Connect, you'll have your standard left turn movement here, left turn movement as you head west from Connect, heading west, through lanes running north and south in all directions. So we won't change anything in Connect other than we're going to widen that street just ever so slightly due to the width that doesn't exist currently on Connect Street.
Okay, great, that helps me a whole bunch, and I really appreciate that. And the final question I had might be one that Kyle would have to throw in on a little bit, but I'll ask you anyway. Is the deliberations that are going on with the 502 work now, where that traffic circle is going in, are they planning that for 18-wheelers making U-turns around that circle?
I can answer that because we had that discussion in the meeting prior to this, and in speaking with Philo. Philo indicated that it does, in fact, meet the criteria it would for any fire truck or any service vehicles, semi-trucks. So my understanding from what they have said, and my testimony here tonight would be that yes, it does meet that. It's anticipated and will be designed appropriately.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, let me add one thing to Brett's answer. Kroger focuses on the Energy Star guidelines as opposed to the leads. And then if I could refer you to the website, there's a Kroger sustainability report that's at sustainability.kroger.com that would go into a lot of the specifics of a lot of the things that Kroger's done to make our buildings more energy efficient.
Thank you. I have just a couple of questions for you. First off, the plot where the retention pond is located at. I assume I'm correct in believing that it is owned by the county. Is that right?
That's correct. In fact, it's a county obligation in our agreement with the county for them to build that. It just happens to be that we've worked with them and we are designing it as part of their obligation.
And so, and it appears the access road for your loading dock is entering into that. That's also part of the agreement you've made.
It is part of the existing development agreement, and what he's referring to, as you can see, this is the property. This is an easement that the county is going to grant us across this piece of property for these service vehicles to get in. At one time, there was discussion about providing access in off of DP Road, and the development agreement had allowed for that, and that didn't make the most sense from a planning perspective, and so we're looking at doing it without it.
And also, am I also correct in assuming that, I don't know if you touched on it, but your trash dumpsters and so forth will also be back in that area?
That's correct. And one thing that I didn't mention, and we're meeting the county's standards on recycling, and we have recycling facilities that are going to be located in each one of these dumpster areas. They're dual dumpsters in size, and you can see if my eyes aren't all that good, but there we go. We have two located right here, so we have one that's recycling, one standard. and then we have one located here, and then we have one located behind the Smiths building.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Other commissioner questions?
I am going to shock this commission and actually ask a lot of questions. So you say that you have, I think, 19% of landscaping as opposed to the 5% that the county requires. How are you going to water that? I mean, that seems like a large area and we use a lot of water.
Good question. Our systems, typically we utilize drip irrigation systems, which are quite efficient as far as water conservation. The areas, the vast majority of landscaping is going to be in this particular area. Those will have initially have water provided for growing season, so there'll be temporary irrigation system, but will not be planned to be used on a long-term basis.
And you mentioned the xeriscaping in that tan area.
Yes.
And are you planning on using more local, I'm not really sure how to ask this, but why is there not more xeriscaping in there? Like, why is that one so special compared to the rest of it?
Yeah, let me talk to that again. And the biggest challenge we had was we had a system for the foundation of the building, because we had 20-foot fill materials, which this ceiling is probably about 9 feet tall, so double that, and that's fill under the building under that corner. That meant we had a 20-foot wall under the building that was planned, and if I showed you the drawing of that, you would think it was some kind of maze, because it actually had what we call flying buttresses and all sorts of weird things coming off of it. That was about $1 million expense that the cost just really couldn't absorb. So we looked at other options, and the option is to do a standard footing along this side of the building and this side of the plaza. And then we have a couple of retaining walls that are terraced in this corner. So we pulled the retaining walls as far away, and the pathway, we pulled it as far away from the building as we could, so we could transition that slope. And Dan, I think there is a cross-section that shows that slope along that side of the building, if you want to go to that. This
one may not be the best. I do have another one, but
right here will work, actually. And what this shows is, you can see the building is here. These are actually, I'm not sure what those are, but this is the back of the building, and there's a couple of retaining walls right here, and then the jogging path is in this location. So you can see, that doesn't really show it, Dan. I'm not sure what that is. Controller should be the other one.
yeah, give me just 1 second here.
To answer your question, though, Kathy, there is other xeriscape on the site.
I'm actually in Viva.
Oh,
I moved over.
just to confuse me, I'm easily confused. But when you look at that site plan, there are some tans and some different hues on that, purple hues on there that are reflective of some xeriscape along Trinity. So really, other than the materials that are going to be utilized along the canyon where it's shown as green, the other materials on landscaping outside will be a xeriscape material. We use a lot of rock mulch that is consistent with water conservation practices. I'm not sure, but in general, it's okay if it doesn't have that plan. It shows a cross section, but that area is unique because of the slopes. 3-to-1 slope is, you know, if you go out 3 feet, you come up a foot. So it kind of gives you an idea. It's a fairly steep slope. We try to use a larger rock in that area to be able to stabilize that so we don't have any erosion. What we don't want to have happen is we don't want water in that area that could erode out and create any stability issues under our building. So we want to make sure our $30 million building doesn't roll down.
Gary?
So you said the retaining pond in the back is owned by the county, you are building it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who has the liability should, per her suggestion, some kid, fall in and break his leg?
The county.
Okay. And same for the trails that you're building?
I'm not sure that I can answer that on the trails. I'd have to go back and look at the development agreement. We have an obligation to build the trailway. Our cap on the trail, based on our development agreement, is $50,000. I'm not sure at this point in time if there will be easements on that trailway. My understanding is the trailway is maintained by the county. This shows a little bit better. Appreciate that, Dan. This is the footing of the building. So this is the slab of the building, so to speak. If I'm looking at this right, yes, I am.
I think that's the patio.
Oh, is that the patio? Okay. This will give you some indication. We have a retaining wall along this side. This is the trailway. There's this 3-to-1 slope, but this is at the plaza area. So this is the area here that's on the slope that will have the xeriscape, the rock mulch, that won't be irrigated. And there will be no trees in that area.
You mentioned that solar would be an option in the future. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why is it not better to do it now?
Well, one of the things that we're finding as we've constructed those is that they're not completely cost effective at this point in time. The plans that we have looked at in the past are to try to look at different jurisdictions. New Mexico has been one of those that we have installed them. As the solar panel energy efficiency gets to the point where if there's a payback, then those will be looked at more seriously. But this building, at this point in time, is not anticipated for solar. The structure will accommodate future. I mean, the roofs on these buildings are structurally sound to accommodate any kind of add-on in that nature in the future.
So you mentioned that you have the McDonald's coming into that corner, I believe?
We have no lease with McDonald's at this point. That is a plan. That's our best plan at this point in time.
Okay. And you mentioned, how long will it take before you build the other 3 buildings?
That will depend on what interest there is here in the community on tenant mix. We won't be able to build those, prior to these being leased up and feasible. So once these are leased up and we have tenants interested in these buildings, then we will contemplate the construction of those.
And what's your criteria for tenancy?
Well, there will be covenants in the shopping center as far as what types of uses can go in. But at this point in time, there's some interest in a pet store and pet supplies at this location. There's some initial discussions in that regard. There's nothing finalized. I could have one of the Kroger individuals talk to it in more detail if you want to get into it, but there's certain uses that are restricted in the shopping center.
such as?
Pretty standardized in shopping centers, you know, there's no kind of pornographic shops. There's no, on this one, there'll probably be no automobile repair shops and those types of obnoxious uses that would fit into this type of shopping center.
And you mentioned you were looking at mostly national chains coming in?
Well, no. If I said that, I didn't mean that. What we're looking for are tenants that pay the current rent rates.
What is the current rent rates?
I'd have to defer that to Kroger.
I mean, are they so high that they're precluding a local business from coming in?
To my knowledge, no.
So really the only tenant that you have talked about that you're contemplating having coming in is on a building that isn't going to be built anytime soon.
That's correct.
I see.
It is a huge undertaking and risk for the Kroger company at this point in time. They're investing in these two buildings and building all of the infrastructure for this site based on their belief in Los Alamos and the retail portion of this community. And that's the infrastructure costs for the site improvements alone are substantial. So bring in those utilities for all of those pads, building the parking lots in anticipation of the tenants coming. That's a substantial investment.
So you mentioned there were patios where people could sit and eat. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the only ones that I saw were in between those two buildings, I believe, on the side.
So you have outdoor seating areas located here. This is retail A and B, so there's an outdoor seating area located here, and then on the east side of this building. And then the plaza on the side of the Smith's building is 5,400 square feet in size. The retail buildings are roughly about 6,000 square feet apiece, so that gives you an idea how big that plaza is.
And how many jobs do you think this is going to create?
I haven't estimated that. I believe, I really don't know the answer to that. I don't know if anyone's tried to calculate that. There is an existing Smith store currently, so I mean, it's going to be twice the size. It will create additional jobs. Normally, you know, there's around 100 employees per store. I'd have to defer to Smith's or Kroger if they've got any estimates as far as an employee increase in the store. And then obviously there's going to be, depending on the tenant mix, whether those are new tenants coming into the market or whether those are community tenants that exist here today. That would be a different determination. Tough one to calculate.
Okay. So you don't know how many employees you're going to need for a store? I mean, that seems kind of like basic information you would have.
What I indicated is this store is, go ahead, Steve.
A typical grocery store has somewhere around 100 employees. Well, we would anticipate that this would be around double that.
Okay.
That would speak to the store. The rest of the shopping center, I couldn't say. Until it's tentative, we know who's coming in, and then we have to defer to them how many employees they have.
Okay. I think I'm done for now. I'm sorry.
No. Commissioner Basin.
Just kind of a follow-on. So my understanding is that Kroger Corporation has a 99-year lease with the county and the schools. That's correct?
That's my understanding.
So the tenants on the perimeter of the property that may be coming in, they will be, the leasing entity would be the Kroger Corporation?
Yes,
They're the ones citing the leases for those?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of quick ones. You were very good about pointing out the architectural facade and everything like this is. And I know you've been working quite closely with the county. So they're meeting the ACO or the downtown guidelines and standards for, I'm guessing that's true. I mean, it's staff that way too. Okay, but some of these might be deferrable. Okay. You mentioned quite a bit about ingress, egress and things, and I'm guessing looking at the parking lot and the landscaping and the way that it's laid out and things like this, that you've given quite a bit of thought to traffic within the parking in the building, or to and from the buildings, in terms of walkers, cars, bicycles, motorcyclists, skateboarders, scooters. I'm not sure what else. I mean, you've given that a reasonable attention to that for safety reasons.
Yes, and we have a lengthy traffic study that's analyzed that as well. The store's double. You mentioned that, of the current Smiths, and some other sorts of things. And I'm guessing you satisfied the state, the county engineer and everything that there is adequate, or will be adequate sewage, and any other issues dealing with potential hazardous or waste products. I mean, there's quite a bit potentially generated there. Yeah. Our discussions with staff have indicated that the infrastructure available to the shopping center is adequate to service it. That was part of our due diligence and really important to us to make sure that it was going to work properly and we can make that investment in the community.
Thank you. Given this is approved or approved with conditions tonight and everything, what is the approximate timeline for construction? Because there'll be construction activities and there's some disruption always with that, and then before the store is open.
Good question. The current plan is for our construction drawings to be prepared and ready to submit to the county in the middle of next month. And we have a bidding process to do to make sure that our numbers come in line with our budgets. And we have some Kroger approvals for funding that still need to be finalized after those bids are let and been reviewed. And so we would anticipate going under construction this summer and then having a completion later next year.
Or approximate occupancy would be?
I believe it was November?
Yeah.
I believe it was a November opening is the current plan schedule.
In November 2014.
Yes.
There are currently 8 conditions on the suggested motion, or recommended motion on the, most I think, if not all, have come out of discussions with IDRC and other staff members along the way. Are all of those acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. Other commissioner questions of the applicant at this time? Yes.
I'm back. I would actually like to hear, I changed my mind. I would like to hear from the Kroger representative how I'm just having a hard time believing that you haven't done some sort of survey or study as to how the jobs and the local businesses will be impacted by your moving here and doubling your store.
I think in our discussions with the county, there's a feeling, I apologize, I really can't quote exact percentages or numbers, but there's quite a lot of leakage, from the community with retail dollars going off the hill and going down to other markets such as Espanola and Santa Fe and elsewhere. I think we do a pretty good job with the grocery business, but with the other general merchandise things that we'll sell in the marketplace store, and that hopefully we'll be able to fill these other shops up that we're building. We'll keep more of that type of business on the hill.
So what kind
At
of,
this time, well, you know, I mean, there could be a small, I don't know, clothing stores, furniture stores, you know, smoke shop, pet store was referred to. There could be, you know, sporting goods, something. I know we've talked to some people about bicycle repair and perhaps a bicycle shop. It's been difficult at this point in time to go out and have meaningful dialogue with the tenant, because with this site, it's been so challenging to develop the site work development plan, and it's been so expensive that until we're through that, in the entirety, we really don't know what we can quote in rent. I mean, we're a for-profit organization now. Our motivation in this is to be able to build our store. And because of that, and there's been 2 other developers that have worked on this site and have not been able to work, we brought our parent corporation, Kroger, in. Kroger's been willing to take the risk to look at this and try to help make this site work and be you know, feasible that we could build a grocery store. You know, and in that process, I would suspect that our returns, you know, requirements may be less than another developer, because we've got the grocery store and that business that we're interested in. But really, until we have all of the site costs figured out and these building costs, it's hard to quote somebody rent. And until you do that and have that type of meaningful conversation, they're not committing to us and we can't commit to them. Our brokers out of Albuquerque have talked with national tenants. I believe they've talked with a number of local tenants. The pet store was mentioned. I know a couple of banks have looked on the property. There's been some fast food, McDonald's and others have looked. But you know, we've not been at the point where we could ink a deal with them. And I really don't know what their employee numbers would be. It would be hard for us to determine that at this point in time, and what, you know, business that would keep on the hill. I don't know. I mean, we have estimates in the sales projections that we'll be able to do, and I don't know that our feelings have been that would come from the economy here, that we would be taking sales from local merchants. I kind of gathered from the tone of your question that that's what you were looking at. I think that the thing that we were looking at more is the sales leakage, what's going off the hill and what's not being offered here, and that's more the type of thing that we would have in our stores, just an expanded general merchandise.
yeah, so you mentioned the leakage, but when you mentioned the type of leakage, you either mentioned something that was already in town and available, or something that has been tried in this town and has failed. So, but the core things that this town needs, you didn't mention.
What are the core things this
I'm
town
going to
has?
have to cut this off unless you can demonstrate that it's one of the criteria here.
Well, it's in economic development and diversifying the economy.
Yeah, it's marginal, sort of thing, but go ahead, if you would care to respond.
Well, no, I was going to put the question back. I'm not sure. I know the items that you're talking about, you know, and I mean, if there's something that you're thinking, maybe I could address whether we have that in our store or not. And certainly, if there are ideas that you have, I know our brokers would, you know, love to hear that. If you had ideas of tenants that they could contact, bring in.
Well, I will.
One more quick question from Mr. Paul, if I may. I was just trying to, looking at the vicinity map as well as the site plans. And the vicinity map it shows 2 parcels there. And when I look at your site plan, I guess the proposed potential drive-through restaurant doesn't quite fit with the second parcel there. I'm wondering if there is some sort of potential conflict in the future at the end of the lease. Would those sites need to be replatted?
There's different ownership currently with the county and the school district between these two parcels. My understanding is the staff's working with us to go ahead and eliminate that line so it wouldn't be under any buildings in the short term.
Thank you.
Other commissioner questions at this time? The applicant? We will have some potential for existing follow-up stuff at the conclusion of this order. Staff? We have to read
Chairman Roach, Commissioners, thank you. It's good to be here, first time, appreciate it. I would like to offer a couple things into the record. One correction to the staff report, it is actually a 73-year lease, not a 99-year lease. And I'd also like to note that the public record has been, or public notice has been provided in accordance with the county code. I appreciate the work that Brett did. I had intended to talk a lot more tonight, and I think he's covered this pretty well. There are a few pieces that I would like to talk about a little bit more, and just to kind of run through some of the findings of fact. The site, as we know, is about 15.3 acres, split between 3 buildings at this point. The future buildings will be a future site plan under consideration at a future time. Parking that's provided on site meets county code. In fact, it exceeds it with this being an NCO, a downtown district. We're almost 2/3 over what would be required in its own district, so there's plenty of parking. I'd also like to note that safe access to the site has been provided, and the county engineer has accepted the traffic impact analysis as being adequate. Setbacks have been met on the site, the architectural design guidelines have been met, and the landscape plan is acceptable to the county. I would like to touch a little bit more on the landscape plan and just note that the Kroger and the engineering company worked with us at great length to provide a landscape plan that, with the help of Dick McIntyre, used species that were specific to this area. We actually went through and probably 2/3 of what was originally proposed, we switched out with more appropriate landscaping to this area. It's something that we recognize and that we see as important as well. As far as the site plan, there are just a couple of things that I'd like to touch base a little bit more regarding the interior access. We've certainly talked about the access on the outside, the access points into the site. But we've also provided sidewalk, a separated sidewalk landscape. There's a landscaped area with sidewalk along Trinity Drive to provide that safe pedestrian walking portion there. Crossing in, there will be sidewalks that connect in and across to all of the pads, in addition to a main walk coming in from the future pads through the parking lot to the front of the building. One of the important things to staff that we were able to work with the Kroger folks was to create a safe pedestrian area in front of the building, and that's where we came up with the addition of those planters to create a safe space and a walking area as you're entering and exiting the building. It also kind of softens that edge and creates a little nicer feel to the front of the building. I'm going to go ahead and skip through these pieces here. So this is just a line of sight exhibit. It's one of the things that we worked very hard to get incorporated into the design. And it's just that screen wall coming around and curving around on the back side of the building. We had some contact with the 600 6th Street, the Merrick building, and they had some concerns about views and visibility into the site. And staff had questions and concerns regarding visibility from the trail. And we were able to negotiate and have that wall incorporated into this site, something that we might not have typically seen from an applicant, but we were able to work with them and get that in. The building materials are integrated. They will mimic the building materials of the primary building, so there'll be some nice continuity coming around and providing a screened area to that very active loading dock. And then I think we've touched quite a bit on the architecture. I did want to just mention briefly the larger portions, kind of these areas here on the front and side. That's an integral split-face textured concrete block. It's an architectural block, so it's actually really very nice. It kind of mimics the 2-foot that we have in the area. The look of it will tie back in with some of the common materials in this area. We also have some nice stacked stone along the bottom, creating some of these architectural details on the front here and here, and then also along the side of the building here, wrapping around on that corner. And in addition to some plaster, kind of the stucco that we're used to seeing of plaster material. And you can see that we've carried that around onto the south side, integrated across the back of the building. The textured architectural block will actually be 2 different colors, so we can make sure that we meet those architectural guidelines. And they've incorporated that 360 around the building. And then they've not an exact mimic of the primary building, but some nice complements, same types of materials, same color schemes, integrating a very unique and nice design. And we were able to work with them to kind of upgrade and include this area into the site plan, and then be able to wrap some of those architectural features. This is the side that will front onto Trinity Drive. We were able to bring some of those architectural details that we see on the front of the building, wrap them around the corner, bringing them onto Trinity. We were able to bring them around onto Trinity on the east side. So as you're coming into town, you're going to actually see a nice facade continuing all the way around that building as you pass. And then this is just the IBRC recommendation and our 8 conditions of approval. These are exactly as you will find in your staff report.
The applicant, do you have questions of the staff on the report at this time?
No.
Okay. Ms. Mockler, as a party, do you have questions of the staff report?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Commissioners? Construction sorts of things, and maybe more appropriate for the applicant. There's lots of traffic, lots of heavy equipment and things like this. I'm guessing there's a plan, or will be a plan, to minimize impacts and especially to address any potential safety issues.
Well, certainly from the standpoint that there will be, as Brett had spoken to, creating the buffers in case there were any sort of sheet flow over the site. The equipment typically will be staged on site. There are federal requirements that would require if they have on-site fuel, those types of things, that they be burned and held in their own state as part of their plans as they go through the engineering department. Those pieces will be put in place to make sure that there's nothing moving off-site. As far as moving equipment up the hill, I would assume that would come up the truck route around and then coming from the west to the east onto the site. The actual logistics I can't speak to.
Those folks in the eastern area have been especially concerned about increased traffic, especially truck traffic and everything. So I'm guessing that has been addressed. You said truck route moves whenever possible. Larry.
I have a few questions, Dan, for you that I think are a result of my newness in this business. Number one is I want to focus on page 6 of the staff report on the statement that says, I further move to authorize the chair to sign findings of fact and conclusions of law. I saw no reference in the staffing to conclusions of law, maybe it's not applicable in this case, but my question is about that whole sentence. Is the implication here that the staff will prepare findings of fact that mimic what's in the previous part of the staff report? It doesn't have free license to invent new findings of fact.
That's correct. We do not have free license to create new findings of fact. They might be modified by the commission through additional conditions, and that those would then be entered in as findings of fact.
That's fine. And there are no conclusions of law visible that I can find. Is that correct?
I would defer to the technical term to our legal counsel. That's the way it's.
It's on page 6. I think I just heard you say that it in effect the sentence is based on stuff that's already in the staff report. I didn't see anything about conclusions of law in the staff report. That's my question.
I think the conclusions of law would be your actions. The board's decision is the conclusion.
That's correct. So what the commission is doing is looking at the criteria as it's laid out in the code, which is section 16-152A, which is the site plan review criteria. And as the evidence is presented to you, you will look at that and see if that evidence conforms with the criteria laid out in the code, and that would be a conclusion that that criteria is satisfied.
Then I have a question about condition number 5. Easement from the county is needed. That struck me as a very soft statement compared to all the requirements that appear elsewhere in this list. And if the applicant is not concerned by that, I guess I'm not concerned about it, but it struck me that language that propels more county action in that direction seems to be appropriate for our action. How do you feel about that, Dan? Is that okay? Although perhaps the applicant would like to.
I think there's agreement in the conditions as they've been stated. We've worked with the applicant, they're aware of the conditions that we were putting in place. Part of this with the lease agreement, since this is all under county ownership, it's just kind of a known that that would be a necessary step in this. So it's not something that was implied or conditioned onto the applicant. It was part of the project from the beginning, and I think that might be the reason for that softness.
Okay. My last question has to do with what I think I detected to be a disagreement between the list of conditions as put forth by Kyle and endorsed by the Department of Review Board and what's in the staff report. I couldn't get the two to track one to one. Can I misread it somehow? Like, for example, dumpsters need to be accessible. That's a condition that Kyle suggested it was endorsed by the review board. It didn't appear in the...
That was one of those types of issues between the first IDRC were addressed through the ongoing negotiations between the first and the second IDRC review and resolved at that time. So the access to the dumpsters, the original configuration of the dumpsters had in this location, they were actually, instead of at the, I think they were at finally like a 55-degree angle, they were just perpendicular to the drive aisle, and the same thing with this. So that's where that note in the first IDRC, it's something that we've negotiated and worked out with the applicant.
So all of the discrepancies between those have been resolved in negotiation.
Yes, and that's why that has been removed from the second iteration and then into the staff report. And that was specifically with those negotiations, we would then bring in the agency within the county to work with them. In this case, it would be Leroy Chacon with Environmental Services, and then work through with them. And in fact, it's funny that would be the issue. We probably went through 3 or 4 site plans between all of us to get to this that would work for everyone.
Okay, thanks, Dan, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Commissioner, questions of the staff? Did the staff receive any comments, questions from those entities within 300 feet of the property?
The only comment that we had has been addressed, and it specifically came from the owner of the 606th Street, and those were resolved through the review process, and then just through some additional information that was passed along regarding screening, the screen wall, providing the additional 6 trees in this location here to screen the back, and then part of that was that line of sight analysis that we did. So their concerns have been allayed, and they have chosen not to be here tonight. We've taken care of their concerns.
Thank you. Other commissioner questions of the staff or the staff report? Ms. Mockler, do you have anything else you would like to ask or say?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Applicant, any other clarifications, comments, or anything? Staff?
I have none.
Commissioners, do you have any other further questions or wish to recall the applicant or the staff? All right, we will close the public, quasi-judicial public hearing tonight and then move into the deliberation phase of our process, in which we'll entertain a motion. Ralph.
Thank Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kind of a long motion, so just bear with me. I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve case number 13-SIT-001, a request for approval of the site plan for the Smith's Trinity Place redevelopment located at 751 Trinity Drive, tracks L-1 and S-1, a portion of track WA and track WA-1, commonly known as the Trinity site, Eastern Area Number 2, Los Alamos County, New Mexico, Zone Downtown District, Neighborhood Commercial Overlay, subject to the following conditions and for the reasons stated in the county's staff report. Number 1, the county council will approve the installation of the proposed signal. Number 2, Anita, I'm going to change the words on this a little bit. NMDOT will approve all final access configurations to New Mexico 502 Trinity Drive. Number 3, a final drainage report shall be resubmitted to and approved by the county engineer prior to the issuance of a building permit. Number 4, an easement shall be dedicated to the county for the bus drop-off and traffic signal infrastructure. Number 5, an easement from the county is needed for the loading dock area east of the shopping center. Number 6, outdoor lighting shall conform to county code and the New Mexico Dark Sky Protection Act. Number 7, documents necessary for the granting of new and vacation of old easements will be provided to the county. And number 8, signage will be by separate permit. I further move to authorize the chair to sign findings of fact and conclusions of law to be prepared by staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ralph, seconded by Deb for approval with 8 conditions. Ralph?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really happy to be able to make this motion. I've been involved on and off in one capacity or another with the Trinity site project for many years, and it's very pleasing to get it to this point. And what I would hope as we go forward to make this a successful project is that planning and zoning will be an enabling body and do the actions that are really necessary to support and have this project be successful. In the economic vitality plan, they use the word thriving, and I think the plan that we reviewed here today is certainly not the old concept of a big box sitting on an asphalt parking lot. I think it's much more than that. But we need to bring it to fruition. So we only reviewed a part of it tonight, and there'll be more parts coming up for us to review in the future. So as we move forward, I hope that we have the opportunity to maybe not limit these future parts to very narrow activities like maybe just retail. Think a little bit broader in the sense of services, businesses, things that really may fill this shopping center or this project up to make it thriving the way it's supposed to be. And with that, I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I echo your sentiments. This was one of the first projects I worked on when I first moved here 8 years ago. We did spend a lot of time when I worked for the chamber gathering information about how it would affect the economic vitality here and what it would do to other businesses. So there is a history of that, and the consensus was when I was working on it was that it was a positive thing. But thank everyone for their work. I'm very impressed that on, what was it, January 17th, there's this huge list of things from the RDRC, and that it was resolved. The notes from the RDRC indicated that they were resolved. So thank everyone, and this is very exciting.
Other commissioner comments or anything else you wish to do with the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to draw your attention to condition number 1, which says the county council will approve the installation of the new signal. That appears to me to be a binding of the county council by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm obviously misreading it. If somebody can clarify that, I don't see how we can possibly require the county council to do what this says.
I'll ask Kate.
I think the way that this would be interpreted, these are conditions for the site plan. If for some reason these conditions were not to be fulfilled, as if, New Mexico DOT would not approve the final access, which could potentially not allow county council to approve the installation of the proposed signal, I think the applicant would then come back to planning and zoning and resubmit a site plan with a different configuration. That would be the net result.
That's perfectly reasonable. Thank you.
Other commissioner comments, questions, statements? I echo what they've said, both in terms of perseverance and also, as importantly, if not more so, to the collaboration between private-public partnership that is almost done. I too was here somewhat before you. Personally, the first concept with the retail, the housing, and everything else might have been more desirable to some in the community, but the concept just didn't work. We have something in front of us now, and sat through an hour and a half plus. In my view, the criteria has been satisfied, and the motion with the 8 conditions is reasonable. Any other comment? Could you please call the roll?
Larry Warner,
Yes.
Rob Phelps,
Yes.
Andrew Gill,
Yes.
David Sherrill,
Yes.
Michael Redondo,
Yes.
Deborah Gill,
Yes.
Anita Smith Nelson,
No.
Catherine Vogler, I'm sorry, Kathy, Fred Roach.
Yes.
Motion is passed 1-8.
7.
7?
7-1.
Oh, we have, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not sure. I've been accused of many senior moments, but 7. One other thing. Any action by the Planning and Zoning Commission in granting approval or conditional approval, and there was conditional approval with the 8 conditions tonight, or disapproval of an application may be appealed by the applicant. Any aggrieved person by any member of the county council or by the county administrator to the county council within 15 calendar days after the date of the action pursuant to section 16492 of this chapter. And I believe instead of any aggrieved persons, it's any aggrieved party. Is a more correct word. I think we thank you very much, and we all look forward to, we won't hold you absolutely to it, but to November 2014.